guys, here come the dollies. They got fresh sinkers, hot coffee, and the sweetest smile.
Welcome back to the Clubmobile, everybody. We're so happy to have you joining us today.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back.
And joining us is the man in the uniform, the wearer of many hats, President and CEO of COGG and co-host of What's the Scuttlebutt podcast, Jeff Copsetta.
Well, thank you, girls, for having me. I think I told you in an email, I've done a lot of podcasts, but I don't think I've ever been so giddy, so excited as I have to be on the Donut Dollies podcast. I mean, we're going to have a lot of fun, and it's going to be a little bit of a different episode. Usually I'm in a nice studio with a ring light, but that's not the case. But I think you're going to forgive it by the end of the virtual tour.
You're out in the field today, aren't you?
I am. We are kicking off air show season today.
Incredible. This is definitely a first for us to have.
We're on tour, but virtually.
Yes, we're on the move, guys, but virtually.
But virtually with Mr. Jeff. So for those of you who don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself and what is your part of the World War II historical community?
Absolutely. So for me, my interest in World War II began when I was 4 years old. Both of my grandfathers served during the war. And one of them, he would come to babysit me, would bring his record collection. I'm old enough to we did have a record player in the living room. And he would put on all 3 volumes of Victory at Sea. And that classical music from that old TV show stuck with me. And I had a little toy rifle, and he would put on Victory at Sea, and he would march me around the living room and dining room. And it was then I knew that I was going to be, at some point I'm just going to join the military, and at some point I wanted to help keep history alive. And right after I graduated high school, I joined the Army. September 11th happened when I was in basic training, so everything changed. We trained for about 2 years. I served in Baghdad during the kind of height of the war in Iraq for about 13 months, deployed there, and got a little taste of what ground combat was like. I was a machine gunner on a Humvee, and so I told myself if I get back, I was going to dedicate the rest of my life to making sure that people don't forget these sacrifices. And that had nothing to do with me or my guys, but to think of the scale from the Second World War, just the vastness of sacrifice, the amount of lives lost, it's enormous. So I got into reenacting, and after I got out of the Army, I was a park ranger for about 10 years, had a normal career. And then I got into the museum world and reenacting, and I ran a living history program through the National Museum of the Civic War right here in Central Texas. Did that for about 5 years, and that's what really kind of started the ball rolling. Got involved in some independent films and historical reality TV shows, and the dominoes kept falling, and my role kept expanding. People knew I was a collector, and it just seemed like things were just piled on me. And so I started my own little gig, just kind of going around the different air shows, bringing my display, fatigue, and just making sure that this stuff isn't forgotten.
Right.
Recently, I kind of really funneled that passion and all of that that I've been doing for so long into this new nonprofit called Conservators of the Greatest Generation, where we are. It's the only nonprofit that we know of that's doing this mission, and that includes creating a national database for museums. I directed this museum right here where I'm at today for about 3 years, and it's, unless you're driving through this little town, you don't know it's here. But there's a complete Northern bomb site on display. So what we wanted to do was, if you are a student anywhere in the world, you could get on our website and through a searchable database, look at how many Nord bomb sites are on display. And so once these museums give us their inventory and we compile it, now these little museums have international access, essentially. Um, Another part of our organization is creating a Valor Vault for anybody that has a relative in World War II, which, statistically speaking, 90% of Americans today have some lineage to somebody who served in World War II. It's an unbelievable statistic. So we want to preserve their family's history. We do the work going to pulling records of National Archives, putting together what their service during World War II looked like with images and documents that help tell the story of what their grandfather, great-grandfather did in the war. And then with their permission to have that accessible to authors, historians, researchers, to tell the story, to pull these, I've been traveling for so much, girls, that, you hear these stories. People come into my trailer, oh, my grandfather, this, and then they leave with, maybe I should have asked them. Or, maybe we should go up in the attic and look in that footlocker again. I forget what's in it. And so that's all we're doing. We're not inventing anything. We're just extrapolating these artifacts, these stories, these family legacies before they're completely lost to this. That, to me, is unacceptable.
It's such an amazing thing that you are doing, and it's such an amazing cause. Like, it's incredible to hear about it.
That's incredible to me because I think about it in the terms of, I never had a chance to ask my grandfather about his service. He had passed away when my father was a kid. My dad was 6 years old. So neither one of us ever had a chance to speak to him about it. We kind of just piece together what we can, what we find in photos, what my grandmother had held on to. We just kind of are starting to piece it together now. And it's been, my God, he's been gone since 66. So this is something that him and I are trying to dig into as best as we can. But what we found out, unfortunately, is that a lot of his records were lost in that fire in the archives in the 70s. And because it was all kind of alphabetical, all his brother's records were lost too.
Yeah.
So whatever we can kind of grab, it's like, okay, well, where does this go? Where does this fit in? Which is why I still think it's so important that if you have somebody alive that you can ask about all of this, if you can speak to a relative
about it,
you really should be doing it, because these stories are, Winnie and I say it all the time, they have to be saved. They have to be saved.
Yeah, they cannot be lost to time. They cannot be forgotten. And I feel like it would be such disrespect upon their name if we all stop talking about it. And what is the thing we always say, Gab? The last time you say their name is when someone really dies.
Yeah.
I think it always goes back to that. But it's an incredible thing, Jeff, that you are doing. How can other people get involved? Would it be as simple as submitting their relatives' details to you guys, or is there another way for people to get involved, like monetarily and stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is a lot of ways to get involved. Right now, so the website is operational. Parts of the website are going to be added on as we're kind of designing this. Like I said, we're only 4 months old. We're 4 months old. And so we're really trying to hone how we're going to do this, because it is it's an ambitious vision, right?
For sure.
So, and I can share the website with you girls and everything, but really getting a hold of us on the website. There's our phone numbers and emails on there, because I see us getting inundated once we launch the Valor Vault. For a family member to make a small donation for us to do this research, I have a feeling it's going to expand, because it already has. And to give you an example, our inception is the 2nd of November. February 21st, and I don't know how much of this you saw on social media or whatever, but on February 21st, we dedicated several plaques at the Marine Induction Center, San Antonio, right? 118 Broadway was the Marine Induction Center's historical building. And we had high hopes for a program like that. But again, it's brand new nonprofit. We only had a couple months for marketing. We had like 300 people and several Army and Marine Corps generals, command sergeant majors, and colonels and majors. And of the 8 boys from Weslaco, Texas, that we were truly honoring, one of them being Harlan Block, one of the Iwo Jima flag raisers. And coincidentally, he was the only one from Weslaco of those 8 boys that was killed in action. We honored those 8, and there were 5 others, 13 total, that actually had enlisted together on the roof of this building. And so at the end of our dedication, we had 13 young Marines inducted on the roof of the building under the same flagpole 83 years later. And when folks saw that, I think that's what really helped kind of springboard what this program meant. Yeah, you can create a plaque and unveil it, dedicate it. We had a mural painted and all this, and the building looked amazing. But the human story, because usually when you join the military, that's not a public event. You take your oath, and name your parents there, you take a picture, yada yada. No, it's no big thing. But for those 13 boys to march out there on this rooftop in front of everybody, not knowing at all what they were doing, their recruiter just like, be here at this time.
Right.
So they got the backstory first about the Weslaco 8 and all these thousands of young men that joined the Marine Corps right here in this building. And then they're told to start marching out there to take their oath. They're like, oh my gosh. And of course, their family members got to be there. 7 of the 8 from the original Weslaco 8, 7 of those had family members there. They came from all over the country. So that was a month ago. And to see how much it expanded since then, like I said, it's we're going to need volunteers. Long story short, we're going to need people from all over the country to help us compile this information, pour in to these databases and these legacy vaults and these plaque dedications and everything that we're going to be doing. Because like I said, I have a feeling we're going to get buried real soon.
But I think Gabby, you and I should hop in as well.
We're in.
We're in. Sales pitch done. We're in.
That's the beauty of it.
It was a great sales pitch. We're in. You got us.
We're in. Done. Very, very. What is it? It's not. Is it Dragon's Den here? Or is it Shark Tank here?
It's Shark Tank in the States.
We have Dragon's Den, so yeah, similar thing. Jeff, we know that air show season has began, as you have said. Can you show us where you are right now?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I thought you'd never ask. This all started when I kind of inherited a 1942 Ford GPW. This Jeep was built in April of 1942. And it was one of those things where right place, right time, this lady finds me and she saw that I could give the home that she wanted to her late husband's Jeep. So it was a 5-year project for me to restore it to the way it is now. And then I needed to travel with it. So I got an enclosed trailer. That was the only reason I got the trailer. One day, I just looked inside of this trailer and I went, I've got a lot of space in here. So I'll walk you outside. I'll show you the Jeep first, and then I'll kind of give you a tour inside this, what I call the War Wagon. I'll just kind of show you everything and just interrupt me, when you see something that you want me to kind of talk more in detail about. But I do have one surprise that I think you girls will really appreciate. So we'll start off here.
Oh,
Wow.
She's beautiful.
She's
There she
gorgeous.
Wow. Oh, I love her. You've done such a good job with that. That looks
Wow.
great. Oh, that's so cool, Jeff.
That's incredible. Now, does she have a name?
I love her.
She does have a name.
What's her name?
And I've got a little chalk marking on the back, Home Alive in 45, and then, of course, Kilroy.
No good
So-
artifact is complete without Kilroy.
Agreed.
Let's see if I can get there it is.
Oh,
Lula Belle.
there's her name, Lula Belle. That's
Lula
so
Belle.
cute.
It
I
just so
love
happens that just so happens that's my wife's nickname.
Of
So
course.
you do like what any good guy would do, right? You name your plane or your Jeep after your girl back home, as she's keeping up the war effort.
Correct. Beautiful.
So
She is beautiful.
I'm gonna do my best here to walk you through the War Wagon
Wow.
as folks
That's
come in.
amazing.
This is a Donut Dolly's first. This is
Right?
incredible.
Guys, this is the
So
episode we're gonna make you watch on YouTube. You can't. You have to just.
Yeah.
so
Wow.
we'll start here, and this was kind of to represent what a B-17 Navigator, some of the tools of his trade would be. This is an original map. Almost everything you see in here is original. But some of the tools that they would use for navigation up on the shelf are some of the escape and evasion things that they would have, a signal mirror, air sickness pills, insect repellent, emergency drinking water. And then we come down to some of the combat gear that they would wear with, bailout bottle that they would have in case they had to bail out, oxygen masks, of course, the famous Mae West life preserver, musette bag. This is really special here. This display, this was given to me by the family member of, he was a B-24 pilot. His name is Tex Hickman. He was from Central Texas here. This is him up here with his crew. Trying to get close. He's kind of a happy-go-lucky kid.
Yeah.
But the second time he was shot down, he was captured, and so this is his POW
The
identification
second time.
from Stalag
Wait.
1.
Wow.
And yeah, he's pretty miserable in this picture now.
Yeah.
This is his POW dog tags from the Stalag. Of course, his original tags here.
Yeah.
This is the guys that were in his room, in his block, room 6, block 6. And this was made for Christmas of 1944. This was their Christmas dinner, which was very meager. But they even typed out all the boys that were in his room that attended the dinner. They did what they could, right? They tried to make it as home as possible.
Oh yeah.
For Christmas of 44 to be spent in a German POW camp.
Right.
This especially, this is from the London Arc. This was a local London publication, and I wanted to put this up for you girls specifically because we say home comfort on wheels, the Clubmobile. Hey, how's about some coffee and sinkers, gals? So they talked about what the Clubmobiles were doing, going around England. Yeah, I had to put that up there. And then we've got some invitations to some welcome dances, welcoming the boys from the United States over to London, what it would be like to be stationed in England. Here's some original currency, some half pennies and 3-pence piece. This is a train ticket for the London transport system for U.S. Army personnel. This is an itinerary of kind of a tour. This is what, service members, if they had the time, this was some of the things that they would see around London, to just kind of know the culture a little bit and some of the historical things around London. Of course, the famous Toby mug, but this is actually a piece of the White Cliffs of Dover.
Amazing. Love
And this is a piece of concrete from the cooler at Stalag Luft 3, which the cooler became famous in the Steve McQueen movie. That's where they kept putting him in isolation with his baseball. It's essentially that building.
Wow.
So that's from the grounds of Stalag 3.
Amazing.
Then, try to show folks as they come through complete, flight kit, what they would be wearing, their headset, and of course another Mae West, and then just some table dressing accoutrement type things. This is a little greetings from England, 8th Air Force hanky, matchbooks, and just personal effects. Then as folks come around here, the front of the trailer is what I really wanted to show is like, this is the barracks, right? This is their, what it would look like in their living quarters. So a foot locker with, of course, you know, extra uniforms and a baseball mitt. You know, just some of the things that would be found, personal effects. And then this corner over here kind of represents, again, their personal space, a table where they would write letters to their girlfriends back home, with, you know, Lucky Strikes and an original pen. This is an original 1943 Vargas Girls calendar, other personal effects, a razor, and, you know, hair tonic. But this picture here, that is Lieutenant Bert Stiles. So Bert he flew a full complement of missions in B-17s as a co-pilot. And then he flew P-51s. Now, the terrible part of this story is he kept an amazing memoir called Serenade to the Big Bird. It was not finished because, unfortunately, Lieutenant Bert Stiles was shot down on November 26th of 1944 flying an escort mission. He was shot down flying his P-51. Wow. His mother, through her efforts, she was the one that got the memoir published. It was actually first published in England and then published in the States, I think, in the early 50s. So that, to me, is a must for any historian, anybody interested in World War II, because his forethought in this young man's mind, the way he was trying to imagine life after the war, and it was so special the way he thought about it. Was the people that really mattered most in Germany, in France, you know, enemy, friend, and foe included. It was that type of thought process that I think impressed me the most, and his writing style. We really truly lost a literary genius when Bert Stiles went down. But I used, and he describes everything in great detail. I think it was chapter 4. It's called The Co-Pilot's House, and it was just the officer's barracks. But he describes everything to a T, and I used that as kind of an inspiration for the barracks portion. So he mentions a little shelf with, you know, he said there's some books up there and an almanac and personal things. And he said above my bunk, I had Jane Russell with the legs and Ella Raines from Yank. And he says a startling picture of Maureen O'Hara. That was the most startling one I could find. And then he said there was this cute little dame named Doris Merrick, which here's a signed photograph of Doris Merrick. So he described everything above his bunk in such detail that somebody like me used that to really help create the feel of this is what they came home to after their missions. This is the stuff that they saw every day, you know, when they weren't flying. So now the short wall of the trailer is dedicated to the Pacific War. This is an original Japanese flag that flew over Sasebo Naval Base with a Type 32 Japanese sword hanging above it. There's a klaxon over the by the doorway there. And I talked about him earlier. So this is my maternal grandfather, who was a radio operator in World War II. He's the one that introduced me to victory at sea and marching around as a little guy. There's our coffee and sinkers for the donut dollars. This is an original silk map, and I love letting people, you know, I said, hey, let feel what real silk is like, girls. You know, this is why ladies were giving up their, you know, underwear, went to war, right? We know about the rationing. So that kind of transitions into what did the ladies do during World War II. So this is kind of my World War II women's Foot Locker, complete with their nylons, and some other information there, and about what women did as pilots, and even what they did at home for the professional baseball league. Right?
Amazing.
Right. And of course, even as for the American Red Cross. Oh, here we go. Sorry. This is an American Red Cross card, identification card for this lady here. And mail, right? Mail was the most important thing to a soldier. It meant more to him than just about anything but chow and bullets. Mail, and I can tell you that firsthand. it's the biggest morale boost you can get, right?
Yeah,
So I think
absolutely.
it's important to tell that story as well, from, just keeping up the war effort just for writing a simple letter, which is a huge chore to a lot of people today, of course. And then here's some other random artifacts. Now, this is my paternal grandfather who was in the Marine Corps
Wow.
during World War II. This is sand from Iwo Jima. This is sand from Tarawa, Japanese hand grenade, a piece of shrapnel found on Okinawa, some literature, original literature about Guadalcanal, and of course, newspapers, and of course, women were photographers during the war and journalists. And then here's some original unused ration stamps. This is what the ration books would look like.
Yeah.
You'd be issued so many of these. This one, these actually say there's a lot of spares here, but this one is for sugar, and then these are for coffee here.
Ooh, wow.
Jeez. That's
And then
amazing.
here's an original WAC uniform.
Oh,
Oh,
gorgeous.
wow.
Look at the little shoes.
Yeah. And this
So
is the lady
cute.
wearing it. This picture was in
Oh,
the purse that she's holding in her hand in the picture.
Wow.
That
oh my
picture and her dog
goodness.
tags were in that purse.
Wow.
Oh,
So that is the complete
amazing.
uniform.
Wow.
So
This is incredible.
that's the War Wagon. And then, of course, there's even lots of images on the ceiling for folks to look at as they come through as well. Some original postcards
This is
and
incredible.
just different images. Here we go. Here is a picture from a Clubmobile here.
Oh, oh,
Handing
Look
out
at
different things.
that.
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And then
I
just
thought
some
we had a lot of
images.
stuff.
Right? I thought we had a bunch of stuff. Jeff has way more.
Well, yeah, and that doesn't include what's in those other two foot lockers up front here that are
Right.
stacked and everything else. This is what I can fit in here and also put the Jeep in here, right? Because the Jeep has to pull in
Right.
here at the end of the day and go down the road.
Wow. I mean, how do you travel with all of that? Like, you take things down and kind
Yeah,
of
do you
pack
take
them
it
up
down and
before you have to drive the trailer? I mean,
It's honestly, it's easier than it looks.
Mhm.
Everything has a spot. It all goes in the foot lockers, and the tables fold up and they slide under the Jeep.
oh
Um,
wow.
He's
it
thought
takes
of
me about
everything,
30
guys.
minutes.
That's
It's
not
a
bad at
30-minute
all.
setup, 30-minute teardown.
Wow.
Um, and the story tells itself. When folks come in here, I'm not going to talk their ear off, right?
Right.
Just come on in if they have questions, but it's more about self-guided tour. Just look around, and there's so many stories that I can go into. I mean, just behind me, I don't think I mentioned this. So the this print here, I know there's probably going to be some glare of an ME-262. If I get it without the glare on it. But this is actually hand signed by Adolf Galland, Lieutenant General
Whoa.
Adolf Galland,
Wow.
and
Jeez.
it's his kind of last towards the end of the war, flying in an ME-262. But he was one of the last surviving German aces during the war.
Wow.
So they can look at that, or I can tell them the story about these two boys here, these Japanese soldiers. This picture, this is a copy of the original. I have the original at home, but this was a picture and letter that was in an envelope found on a dead Japanese soldier on Eniwetok.
Whoa.
And this lady comes up to me and she says, "Do you have any way to translate this letter?" It's about 2 pages long, all written entirely in Japanese. And I said, "Well, how long do you have?" And she says, "We've been trying my whole life." She said, "My dad was in the Navy and he was part of cleanup on Eniwetok. So he goes on shore after the battle." And she said he took this off what he thought was a Japanese officer. She said, "But that's all we know, my whole life." And I said, "Give me about an hour." She said, "Really?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, I have a friend who lives in Japan who's a Japanese reenactor. And, modern day, right? A Facebook Messenger to
Just take a picture
and
of it and
took
send
some
it. Yep.
pictures. About an hour later, he had the entire thing translated, and the picture of the
Wow.
two boys, he said it was one of them that wrote the letter to their old
Mhm.
commanding officer, who was the dead Japanese that was found.
Oh
Wow.
my
Yes,
goodness.
they were sent home for more training to mainland Japan,
Right.
and they were
Wow.
writing their old commander to let him know that they checked in on his wife and kids. And so he talks about
Oh.
it's snowing here in Hiroshima, and but your wife and kids are fine, and we wish you good luck in the battles in the
Oh my
South.
gosh.
And of
Mm,
course, he receives the letter, but was killed in action on Eniwetok.
mm.
The eerie thing was that that commanding officer's wife and kids that lived in Hiroshima there are about 15 minutes away from where my friend lives today.
Wow.
Whoa.
So the family was just ecstatic, right? I had the whole thing printed out for them, and
Yeah.
what was written on the
Wow.
envelope and everything on the inside, and they priority mailed the entire letter to me.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so that's how it happens, right? You help people
Wow.
tell the
Yeah.
story of something that meant so much to their family,
Yeah.
and then they want people to know about it, and that's where I come in. I'm just kind of the middleman. I yes, this is my collection, you could say, but it's I'm just a steward of it, is how I look
Hmm.
at it, and that's what I tell folks. I'm not out for your stuff, but if you want to donate it to me,
Right.
share the story with me. I can tell people, oh, that's a picture of Japanese soldiers, or I can tell about how your dad was in the Navy in the middle of this battle in the Pacific, and he's the one that goes ashore as a
Mm,
scared kid and
yeah.
probably seeing dead people for the first time,
Hmm.
Mm,
and and pulls this letter, and thank goodness he did, because now
right.
that part lives on, that little moment in time, that
Absolutely.
Yeah.
insignificant moment on Eniwetok, and that what seemingly insignificant dead enemy soldier, we now know where his wife and kids lived during the
Right.
war, and his
Yeah.
name, and so that's what's important.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I like that you don't not that you don't talk people through everything that's in the trailer, but that you sort of let them self-discover it. Because I feel like that's
Mm,
something that with history, if you don't discover it on your own and start to dig through it on your own, I don't think you appreciate it as much. If
Right.
somebody just kind
yeah.
of belt
Absolutely.
feeds you facts, it
Yeah.
doesn't have any kind of significance. You could sit in class in school and it's this date, this date, this date, memorize this, memorize that.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you don't grasp it. You don't really find the importance of it that way. If you let yourself fall into it, that's sort of where I feel that people fall in love with it the most. That's how
Yes.
it was for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's absolutely how it was for
Absolutely.
me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jeff, do you have a favorite World War II rabbit hole that you have fallen down? Because like us, we're very much we find something and we pull a thread and the whole sweater unravels.
um I would say, I mean, my biggest interest and the thread that keeps unraveling for me is what you see me wearing. It representing the Army Air Forces has
Hmm.
really, um, growing up, my childhood hero was the pilot of the Memphis Belle, and
Mm.
Captain Robert Morgan. I got to spend the day with him at an air show in I want to say it was 1996.
Wow.
I was,
Amazing.
yeah, I was about 13, and I had seen, of course, the William Wyler documentary,
Hmm.
and I had seen the Warner Brothers Memphis Belle movie that came out. I think it came
Mhm.
out in like 1990 or so. And but so, like, to me, Captain Morgan, this was like, oh my gosh, this was amazing,
Yeah,
right?
right?
And he had a little sandwich board next to the table that had all of the missions from the Memphis Belle. And if you watch the William Wyler documentary, it makes you think that Wilhelmshaven is the 25th mission, and it wasn't even close. And I noticed that. I asked him about it,
It
and
wasn't.
he just looked at me. I'm like a 13-year-old kid. It was like, how the heck do you know about Wilhelmshaven? So he kind of, once he saw my interest and that it was legitimate, he took me behind the table and just, I mean, spent the day with me, and I got to ask him
Oh,
everything I wanted to ask him. Right? It was amazing. But
wow.
so that's part of why I really like representing the Army Air Forces. But
Hmm.
here's probably the most important thing. I could not imagine a more terrifying experience
Mm.
in combat. And and trust me, like I said, I've seen a little of it. It ain't pretty, but
Mm.
I couldn't imagine being 5 miles above the Earth's surface, not in a pressurized cabin, right? You're on life support. You've got a heated wool underwear, the blue bunny that's
Yeah.
24-volt plugged in, with an extension cord and elements built into it like what you have in your toaster to keep you warm.
Yeah.
All of this other flight gear, you're on oxygen. You've got a headset that's got to be plugged in. You have a throat mic that's got to be plugged in. You've got cords and cables and wires and hoses all over you just to support your life.
Right.
Because you're where humans are not meant to be. And it's 40, 50 degrees below zero.
Yeah.
And you're carrying thousands of pounds of high explosives in this aircraft. And one of the most flammable things is compressed oxygen, which is what's helping keep you alive. And just to think about doing that every mission, it's dangerous enough just to fly in an aircraft.
Right.
Yeah.
But then to have the flak and the fighters and the cold and just the lack of just your restricted movement. If you've ever put on an entire everything that they wore, the complete flight suit, you can barely move. And then to think that a lot of times, too many times, those guys had to decide between you stay in the airplane or you bail out.
Right.
Either way, you could die, but you got to do something. And I wouldn't want to. I mean, yeah, some people, I know a lot of guys that went airborne in the Army, and good for you, buddy. But I wouldn't want to do that ever.
Thank you.
And I guess that's why wars are fought by, 19 and 20 year olds. They're a lot dumber than that.
No fear. Absolutely no fear in there.
No.
I think it always strikes us as that they were so young, and in comparison, they were babies. Like, as I've aged, I'm like, oh my God, he was just a baby when he flew 25 missions and he, was potentially missing in action, a POW. And then, the way you've just said he was 19 or 20, I'm like, 19 or 20-year-olds have zero fear in their body. So no wonder.
No fear.
Right.
No wonder. I think obviously underneath it all, they were probably terrified. And obviously there's so many accounts of them not of saying that they're terrified in a letter, but not outwardly saying it to their crew.
Yeah.
But 19, 20-year-olds, there's not a lick of fear in them. I'm rereading Masters of the Air right now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's a bit I just came across where it said that the Jeep ride from the briefing room up to your hard stand was where the fear would really get you. When you were in the air, you'd already done it. You had already done the biggest step, because once you're up in the air, there's nothing you can do except to do the mission.
You're at the mercy of fate at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, they said that the hardest was always going from the briefing, getting in the Jeep and being driven to their fort. And that was the scariest part. But once they're up in the air, they're like, well, I'm here now.
Right.
I'm going to carry it on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have a favorite World War II book or World War II movie?
Ooh. Gosh. I don't know. I've got like 2,000 books. If I had to pick one, I couldn't. On COGG, actually, on COGG's website, I think I put my top 5 because they're about very different things. So I think, to me, the best memoir, Serenade to a Big Bird by Luke Styles. I talked about. I think one of the best books about leadership would be Tommy Blackburn's book about his squadron, Blackburn's Irregulars, the Corsair squadron. That's just a great book on being a young man in charge of a squadron, being a young leader. I think that to me is one of the best ones. If you just want raw combat in the Pacific, Robert Sherrod's Tarawa really stands out to me. It really does. So those are some of my top ones. And I would say for movies, and girls, you can't laugh. They've come a long way. Movies have come a long way.
They have,
but and I love all the new series, right? I love what they did with Masters. Masters was what I think I've wanted my whole life. Um,
Mm.
but at the heart of it, I think my favorite movie that I watch all the time. I watch it more than once a year. Is Sands of Iwo Jima with John Wayne.
I
Um,
haven't seen it. I need to watch that too. I'm really
uh,
bad. I need to see
it
it.
it is. I don't know. It's not the most accurate. They never were. It was done in 1949, but that movie really helped save the Marine Corps because after the war, it was like we really need the Marines
Right.
anymore.
Yeah.
So they put the biggest name in lights, and according to John Wayne, it was one of his favorite roles to play Sergeant John Stryker.
Mm.
Um, and they go through the Tarawa and the Iwo Jima invasion, but it's a
Wow.
story again about leadership and about getting guys to buy into this process. And it's just classic American cinema. Um, that's one of my all-time favorite movies, and probably the Warner Brothers version of the Memphis Belle. I think it's a
I love
great
that
movie. Are there
movie.
things wrong? Yeah, whatever. I don't
Such a
need
good movie.
the new, I don't need all the CGI. I don't need. I have a grasp. I can grasp the concept myself. I've studied it
Right.
long
Right.
enough.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not the best person to probably ask that question because I go to the classics for it.
So, as do
Yeah.
we.
No,
As
we're
do
completely
we.
the same.
I mean, if you
Um,
asked me, I've seen A League of Their Own probably upwards of 100 times. That is
yeah.
Sure.
probably one of my go-to
Mm.
world, like home front side World War II movies. I'll watch it. If there's nothing to
Yeah.
watch, that's what I'm sussing out. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one we're looking for. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeff, I do have a book recommendation for you. I've been recommending this to everyone recently.
Okay.
Have you read Five Came Back by Mark Harris?
No.
It's about the five Hollywood directors that enlisted in the military.
I've
William
heard
Wyler's
about
in it,
this.
John Huston. It's such a clunky book, like size wise, but it is incredible. And
Huh.
it made me
Okay.
go watch every single movie mentioned in this book. Of course, Wyler's in there a whole lot
Sure.
with Memphis Belle, and I didn't know he'd lost 90% of his hearing making Memphis Belle, and no one ever seems to take that into account. That him just going as a director and filming
Yeah.
all these missions, he then came home 90% disabled. Um, and then it talks a lot about their experiences, and you don't really think about it in the sense of that they are also at war. You think of it as, oh, he's just filming it. No, he was
He's up
in
there, yeah,
the
in
plane
combat.
also being shot at. It's an incredible book. I think you would really love it. I loved it, so I think you would also love it. It's
Yeah.
excellent.
Are you reading anything
Go ahead.
currently now?
I am. I am. So I've got a trip planned. I'm taking some students to Italy the end of July,
Oh,
and
amazing.
I did. So we went to Greece in 2024. I spent 10 days in Greece with some of my students, and I was caught off guard with how much World War II history was around me that I didn't even realize.
Mm,
I
Right.
didn't really study that much about the German occupation of Greece. So of course, once I was there, I was trying to get caught up, right? And I remember we're in a tour bus basically once we get there, and we were stopped for gas, and kids were getting snacks and everything, and I was tingling. I mean, it was just like there was an energy. I thought I was hooked up to a car battery. And our tour guide, I said, I can feel there's like a battlefield, and I know this sounds crazy. I said, but I can just feel it. And she
mm,
said, that is unbelievable. She said, well, we're close to where the Battle of Thermopylae happened. She said it's on the other side of that mountain range, Mykonos
yeah.
Mountains. She said, but actually, right here was the second Battle of Thermopylae. Well,
Wow.
I've never heard of that. And she
Yeah.
said, well, she said there's a bridge that the Greeks were trying to hold. It was a delaying action when the Panzer columns were coming down into Greece. And she said there was a huge battle right here. It was called the Second Battle of Thermopylae. Couldn't believe it. How did I not know this? So right now I'm reading the second volume of Rick Atkinson's trilogy.
Mm,
He does An Army at Dawn, and then Day of Battle, and then I think Guns at Twilight or whatever volume three is. So volume two is about the army's invasion of Sicily and mainland Italy.
Mhm.
mm,
Because again, I never really studied that a whole lot, and I wanted to kind of be familiar with, Oh, Patton. Hang on. Patton's one of my favorite movies too.
There we go.
And
Oh,
yeah,
stick you in a room with my father. Oh my
man, how
gosh.
did I miss that one?
Ah.
But but that movie is about the extent of my knowledge of the Sicily campaign, and
Right.
that's not fair because we know I'm sure there's all these inaccuracies. So I'm reading Volume 2, Rick Atkinson's Day of Battle.
We need to look into that for sure.
Yes. We're always taking recommendations and new books for the quarterly book club rotations.
Yeah,
so we're always
those will
looking
be
for
fun.
something fun to read.
Always looking for something extra.
Yeah.
Well, I would say you should try to get a hold of this one too.
First Navy Flight Nurse.
The first flight.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not a book per se, it's more of a pamphlet, but this is an incredible story about this young lady here. There's so much. There's so much out there. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to leave you with a final thought here in a minute. Everybody's
Go
kind
ahead,
of looking
do
at
it.
me.
Of course.
So it's been amazing, and I hate to cut it short, and maybe we can do this again.
Yes.
I would say though, for a parting thought for everybody. So my day job is I'm a high school teacher, right? And the reason I got into that was because I remember doing a podcast episode with an author, and he said, "Oh, kids these days, right? Kids these days, they don't appreciate history. They don't care. They don't know what was sacrificed for them." And the Army taught me a lot. But one of the biggest lessons I've taken from my service in the Army was never complain about something that you can change.
Right.
And it just kind of hit me one day. And, my wife said, "You're basically doing educational stuff. Hey, you're teaching people about World War II everywhere you go. You should look into being a teacher." So I made that decision 5 years ago. I teach the high school I graduated from.
Wow.
And this is what I want people to know. Because you'd mentioned it earlier, history in the classroom. We're memorizing names, dates, and things that nobody cares about. And that's why students leave high school with hardly any knowledge of true history. History is an art, not a science. And it's not fixed. History is kind of this frothy, foamy, bubbling thing where stuff always kind of comes up to the surface. It's never just buried. So if you recall, however long ago it was now when somebody tried to assassinate Trump, right? We see the pictures with blood. All of a sudden, the JFK assassination now becomes relevant history again, right?
Yeah.
Something today brought something from yesteryear back up to the top to simmer for a little bit. So when we think about history, the important thing to remember is it's not that history itself is gone. It's all around us. History is not history. History is the story of right now, because what we're doing right now and what we do in the future helps us see the history in a different lens. So history in the past is always changing. So it's not necessarily important to know history. It's important to know why history matters. And that's what I want my students to, they may not know the names and the dates, and I don't care about that. But if they know why history is so important and they have the interest to study it on their own, that's when you've got something.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's the truth.
Absolutely it is. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today. We have had such a great time.
Yes, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for taking us around the War Wagon.
Yeah.
What a treat.
Thank you for doing it from the air show. What a treat. Correct.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun day. We're going to demonstrate a flamethrower, and we're going to do a Vietnam demo. I'm going to narrate a little Vietnam demo of a downed pilot that's being rescued by alert team. So we'll do that with a Huey helicopters in front of everybody. There's a Corsair here. There's an Avenger. There's a B-25.
Wow.
It's going to be a great day, girls. It's going to be a great day.
Send us pictures, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And to everybody
Thanks,
watching at home, we'll see you guys soon.
See you next time, everyone. Goodbye.